Hello everybody and welcome to Organian's Puzzle Box. In today's tutorial I want to give you access to my favorite project so far, to be honest, which is a planet blueprint for Unreal Engine. This particular project allows you to control space scenes in an instant. It comes with a sky atmosphere, with volumetric clouds. It's got its own sky dome with like a nebula sort of skybox. It has the Milky Way. The planet itself is easily changeable with your meshes, with textures. It's got everything set up, and all the properties and all the parameters and everything can be changed from the detail panel as you drop the blueprint in. It's really a one solution fits all, I would say. So all you really need to do is open a new scene, drop in the planet blueprint, and there you have it. You have the skybox, you have everything, the sky atmosphere, and everything else that you need, and you are able to control those through the blueprint. All you really need to do is then add a post-process volume and a directional light so that you can sort of play around with those based on your liking, but the rest of it, it's all done. And also, as a bonus feature, there is a version of this project for free as well for 5.4, which also has custom gravity. So you're actually able to walk around this planet. If you have a high a poly mesh added to it, like a planet, you're actually going to be able to use that. And what's really interesting is the fact that, basically you can walk on the planet and you can go around to the side and so on. So you're effectively now have a custom gravity for this. It only works for Unreal Engine 5.4. I will be releasing a tutorial that kind of shows you how to use it and how to set it up. But right now you do have the project. It's quite an easy sort of solution. It's just selecting which mesh is the one that you're looking to be the mesh that allows for custom gravity. That's it. I'm going to show you how to do it as I said, in a tutorial. Very easy stuff. But other than that, yeah, let's begin. Also, just so you know, I am offering a 30% discount, limited time for all of my projects with the release of this project. I just wanted to make you guys aware. So head on over to ArtStation, Gumroad, or my own website, 3D Project Masters, and you're able to get that. Anyway, let's not delve anymore into this. Let's just begin. When you open the Unreal Engine project, you will see a basic scene set up with a directional light, post-process, and a skylight, which enhances the blueprint. The blueprint controls elements like the sky atmosphere, which you can find over in here, volumetric clouds, and planet textures over here. The scene is designed to be quite simple, allowing you to quickly create a space scene with just a few clicks. Now, this planet blueprint includes its own systems, and as you can see, they're all over in here, providing a skybox for stars and nebulas over down here. You can switch the planet mesh for a simple sphere, which we have right now, or you can just swap for a high sort of geometric, complex geometry mesh like that, and customize its textures and colors. It supports maps like roughness, specular, and normal map. And also for clouds, you have options between static and volumetric clouds, with some limitations on the volumetric one, because, like for example, if the planet is moving, then the volumetrics won't be able to travel properly with it. We also have a volumetric atmosphere and a simple atmosphere. You can use both of these at the same time, or one at the same, just one of them. It really depends on your performance, and this was going to be a very cost-effective approach, I believe. You can also remove the skybox mesh if not needed, so you can just press this button over here, and this will just remove the skybox, and now you just have the planet. And also all the planets can orbit around other objects and rotate on their axis, enabling complex scene creation. And all these features pretty much work out of the box. So, planet number 1, for example, is in the center. It is rotating and orbiting a cube at the speed of 15. And then planet number 2 will rotate around that. So if we press play right now, you will be able to see how they move around, and you can see the performance is quite good as well. Now, all these features are free, designed to be easy to use, and I made this free to allow everyone to experience space creation in Unreal Engine and develop their own solutions. So please share any issues or solutions on my Discord server so I can improve the project. I aim to keep it open source, and I aim to help people enjoy and innovate in planet creation. There's also a version in Unreal Engine 5.4 that allows you to have custom gravity, which then, you can actually interact with the surface. Now let's explore how to use this project to modify our mesh quite easily. Now, customizing the scene to our needs is very important, so we'll start with the planet itself. The project includes a checkbox in here that allows you to switch from a simple plane mesh to a high geometry mesh. So we're just going to tick that box just so we switch over. You also have the ability to rotate the high geometry planet or the sphere itself. So if we go back to the normal one and then we adjust the planet rotation speed to a 1, you can see how that changes. When I take the box over here, it automatically disables that rotation speed of the texture and just switches over to this high poly geometry where we can only sort of animate while in play mode. So if we switch this over to 1, if we actually press play, it will rotate. I'm not sure if you can see that, but it will basically rotate if we do it. Now, we can change the planet's texture. So over in here as well, as I said, we can change the normal, we can change the specular, the city lights, the roughness as well, and we can also play with the intensity sliders. So let's just make our planet into a moon instead of just Earth, and let's see how that looks like. Over here from the drop-down menu, I can actually select a moon texture. I will go down here and disable the simple clouds, and I actually will enable the volumetric clouds. And I'm going to also put them to high quality mode. And you can see this is taking an FPS hit as well. And now I want to go over here into the atmosphere, and I can disable it completely, but I'm going to disable the simple atmosphere, and I'm going to change the atmosphere that we currently have into more of a whitish one like that. And if we get close, you can see that we have a very detailed high geometry mesh moon in there with these very quirky looking clouds. Now, if we disable the high quality level of the volumetric, we get more performance and we're able to see what's going on. Now, like I've said before, these projects are generally available on Unreal Engine Marketplace, but they're also available on ArtStation, Gumroad, Patreon. Everybody that subscribes to Patreon can get all of my projects, and they're also available on my own website called 3D Project Masters. So yeah, have a look at that. We can also play around with the planet color blend. So if we want to change the color of the planet to something else, maybe something like that, we can also then change the cloud color as well. Maybe something like that. And sorry, we need to change the volumetric cloud color, not the simple cloud color. Maybe something like that. And I can then also change the atmosphere color, maybe to a green, like that. Now let's dive deeper into the cloud system. We have two types of clouds, volumetric clouds and simple clouds. And all clouds are generated by textures, but volumetric clouds use the Unreal Engine technology. So if we enable it, you will be able to see them. This allows for clouds at the top and the bottom because this is a spherical projected cloud system that we have. Now, with these clouds, you can get them distorted in the material shader if you'd like, or you can adjust their colors from here and manipulate their height and bottom altitude. So if I play around with this setting, you will notice how the bottom altitude changes or the height of the cloud. So we could like really beef them up if we would like. Now, the simple clouds don't really work very well with these clouds as long as they're moving. So if you actually switch over the rotation on those, it's probably a lot better. And also you could decrease the opacity on the simple clouds or remove them entirely if you'd like. As I said, you are able to change the color, so you could probably make these into like a blue tint, and you can also make the simple clouds maybe like a green tint or whatever suits your need. If that's what you want. You also have a cinematic mode over in here, which you can click. And if you do that, you will get better results on the volumetric clouds. This is also going to conform them a lot better to the atmosphere, which I find it's a bit of a downgrade actually from this, because this allows for these clouds to like really jump out of the scene, as you've noticed. Our performance does increase when we untick the box and we take it. We do get quite a big hit in performance, but the look is a lot better in cinematic mode for sure. Now, volumetric clouds depend heavily on the sky atmosphere, so ensure that it's enabled, and you will find this down here. Ensure that it's enabled when using them. Now, if you disable them, they will still be visible, but they just glitch out like a lot. So just keep that enabled. And this allows you to, art direct your scene even further with the atmosphere and the clouds themselves. I've exposed many options for volumetric clouds and the atmosphere in the blueprint for ease of access. But if you'd like to have more options, like what you see when you click the sky atmosphere in here, then feel free to expose even more of these options in the actual blueprint itself, or edit them directly in here. You can do the same thing for the volumetric cloud. If you click it, you are able to change more options in here. Like, for example, this option to use per sample atmosphere light transition or things like that that will help you, again, art direct the scene further. One way to get the clouds to go above and beyond in cinematic mode in height is to actually just go to the atmosphere itself and increase its, you can increase the cloud height and so on, but the atmosphere height is going to determine how much can these clouds actually come out. Just make sure you don't blow the scene up too much, as I have done there. So this is quite a neat trick, actually, by doing this. And you're also you'll be able to improve the ground radius if you'd like, in order to, fully customize how these clouds look like. You can see in here, as I change these settings, I'm able to achieve various different results just by playing between these two figures in here. Now let's talk about the atmosphere. We have two types. We have a volumetric atmosphere and a simple atmosphere. Here how it looks without any of them. The volumetric atmosphere looks better, but can be used alongside the simple one as well. So if we turn on the simple one, you can see the effect that we're getting, and then turning on the volumetric one as well, this is going to give us more, a better look. The sky atmosphere allows light from a directional light to emit glow and sun rays, making it essential. So if you actually disable the volumetric one, you're not getting that anymore. So I definitely would recommend that you do have one in your scene. Now you can change the volumetric cloud color with the atmosphere color. So if we have the clouds enabled like that, and then we change the color of the atmosphere, you'll be able to see that the clouds do get some effect from that. The simple atmosphere has certain settings as well. So it's got things like the atmosphere intensity. It has an edge clamp. It also has the fall off as well, which allows it to further art direct the scene, while the volumetric atmosphere has atmosphere height, so you can increase that height quite a lot and get a better result. And we also have the atmosphere ground radius, so if we put this to 120, you can see that it's trying to follow the surface of the planet, but you have to have the planet, higher if you're increasing that number, or if you're decreasing it, have the planet smaller. Now, remember, you can only have one volumetric atmosphere per scene. If you have multiple planets using the volumetric atmosphere, disable it on all but the main one. Your hero planet, let's say, is important, is essential. So these planets over here, they also have the ability to have a volumetric atmosphere, but they are disabled. If I enable that, you can see that the atmosphere has moved from here to there, which is not what we want. So that's why we're only limited to one, as I've said. Now here's a fun one, the ability to simulate orbits. Now we have our main planet over here, which is also the one that has the skybox. It's actually orbiting a mesh, which is a cube. The cube is there. Now we can put the cube further away, something like that. And our planet will go around that cube, and then these planets will go around our main planet because that's how they're connected. So if we select planet number 2, you'll see that planet number 2 is orbiting planet number 3 at a speed of 25. So let's just increase that to 100, then do planet number 3, we'll increase that to maybe like 25, and planet number 1, which is our main planet, it's going to be doing a 20. Okay, and they're all spinning on the z-axis, but we could probably take this particular one and, you know what, just say go on the x-axis instead. So now if we press play, you will be able to see what these planets are doing. So they're moving around away from us, and they're rotating around that cube. Now, let me just get a bit closer to the action, maybe something like that, and we'll be able to see them how they go about. And you can see how this is really powerful, because now let's just say I want the entire structure. Maybe I want to duplicate this one, disable things like volumetric atmosphere and simple atmosphere on it, let's say. And I want this to rotate around the cube, which it is. And I want it to rotate at a speed of 200. And I want this to rotate around planet number 4, which is the new one that we added, at a speed of 70 or something like that. And now if we press play, let's just see what happens. And as you can see, this is like going really crazy, and it's even creating some very strange effects because of how fast the first one is moving. It doesn't have enough time. The other planets don't have enough time to finish off their rotation because of the first one, the planet number 4 that we just added moving so fast. So what you'd effectively want to do is make sure that the main one is the one that's moving slower so that the other ones can actually catch on to it. And you can see now it's actually doing it, it's working a little bit better. We still need that moon there to rotate a bit faster because it's the planet number 2 is just moving way too fast. But that's how you simulate orbits, and it's quite straightforward, I think, in here as well. Now, here's a fun one, the ability to simulate orbits. Now, we have our main planet over here, which is also the one that has the skybox. It's actually orbiting a mesh, which is a cube. The cube is there. Now, we can put the cube further away, something like that. And our planet will go around that cube, and then these planets will go around our main planet because that's how they're connected. So if we select planet number 2, you'll see that planet number 2 is orbiting planet number 3 at a speed of 25. So let's just increase that to 100, then do planet number 3, we'll increase that to maybe like 25, and planet number 1, which is our main planet, it's going to be doing a 20. Okay, and they're all spinning on the z-axis, but we could probably take this particular one and, you know what, just say go on the x-axis instead. So now if we press play, you will be able to see what these planets are doing. So they're moving around away from us and they're rotating around that cube. Now, let me just get a bit closer to the action, maybe something like that, and we'll be able to see them how they go about. And you can see how this is really powerful because now let's just say I want the entire structure. Maybe I want to duplicate this one. Disable things like volumetric atmosphere and simple atmosphere on it, let's say. And I want this to rotate around the cube, which it is. And I want it to rotate at a speed of 200. And I want this to rotate around planet number 4, which is the new one that we added, at a speed of 70 or something like that. And now if we press play, let's just see what happens. And as you can see, this is like going really crazy, and it's even creating some very strange effects because of how fast the first one is moving. It doesn't have enough time. The other planets don't have enough time to finish off their rotation because of the first one, the planet number 4 that we just added moving so fast. So what you'd effectively want to do is make sure that the main one is the one that's moving slower so that the other ones can actually catch on to it. And you can see now it's actually doing it, it's working a little bit better. We still need that moon there to rotate a bit faster because it's the planet number 2 is just moving way too fast. But that's how you simulate orbits, and it's quite straightforward, I think, in here as well. Now I want to show you the skybox. So the skybox is part of the actual scene, of the actual blueprint. It's actually down here where you have all the options. You can load up the textures. So for example, we could give it a cube map color. Right now it's using the Milky Way. But if we change that and we look for another texture, which I am going to have to type in here, I believe if I type in nebula, no, just type skybox, there we go, TC skybox 06, and this is going to load the other texture. And as you can see now, it's preparing the texture and it will load up this one. You can also use an alpha map to cover where the stars are being shown and where they're not. And you have loads of different options in here. One of them being that you can destroy this. So this disables the skybox. But if you untick this box again, it will bring it back. These other 2 planets have it destroyed so that they're not competing. By default, the skybox will be destroyed. And then you have things like, the saturation. So for example, you could increase this brightness number, which will you'll actually make the brighter areas brighter and the darker areas darker on the skybox. You have things like the star intensity. So for example, we could make the stars extremely intense if you'd like. And then we have all sorts of things like the tint. You can add the flow map in order to change, in here you can change how this sort of like skybox interacts. So if you add a flow map, you will be able to effectively, I don't know, let's just use this one here just for it to show you. You can distort the skybox. You can see now it's sort of like going in that direction, which is really nice. So we can create a nice, interesting effect. It's quite straightforward, as I said, but it does add a lot of features to the scene, and it allows you to load up a lot of textures inside of here, especially the ones that I've got in my collections that are on the stores, to further customize the scene. And now let's just have a look a bit under the hood. So just to understand how this functions, so if you actually press the Edit BP Planet, so this will open the blueprint of the planet, you have in the construction script all the material setups. This is quite a large setup because we're doing it for the Skybox. So that's down here. We're then doing, things like the console commands for the volumetric clouds and their quality, the volumetric clouds themselves, the sky atmosphere, then the planet atmosphere, which is the simple atmosphere. And then in here, we have cloud shadows, clouds, and the actual planet itself. We also switch between high poly, high geometry mesh and the normal sphere over in here. So all of these are quite straightforward. You will be able to quickly understand how it functions with the branching system and the booleans to enable disabled certain functions. And in the event graph is where we control the planet rotation. So the axis rotation. So all of this logic in here is to make the planet be able to rotate around an object. And over in here, we have it to rotate the high geo planet on its axis as well. So this is going to be very important. You can have a look at this, at how it functions and how it rotates the planet. Is quite simple. Please ask me the questions in Discord if you'd like to know more. But what effectively we're doing is we're predicting, we're calculating where the planet needs to go next based on its current location and the values that we've put in here around an axis, a center location, basically. There's a lot of elements within the blueprint. We've got the planet, we've got the skybox dome, the atmosphere, planet clouds. We have the sky atmosphere and volumetric cloud that comes with Unreal Engine, and then we have some planet cloud shadows and the high poly, high geometry one. Now, the blueprint for Unreal Engine 5.4 has some extra functionality in order to allow for custom gravity, but that is a different subject. Now, again, this is straight out the box, something that just functions. And I'll quickly show you how easy it is to set up a new level with just this blueprint. Please consider liking, commenting, and subscribing to the video if you enjoy the content, especially the free Planet project. There are other free projects on my channel, and I will be uploading even more. So, why not be notified when I do? Hit the bell down below. Okay, setting up a new scene is quite straightforward. So let's just create a new level. We're just going to call it LV tutorial and just open the scene. In this empty level, what we're going to do is we're going to go to Planet Project. We're going to go to Blueprints, select the blueprint and drop it in the scene. All of a sudden, you already have a sky box with a sky dome with stars and stuff. And we can actually position this over into the center. So it's actually in the center of the location right now, like that. Now, if you want to look at this planet itself, just click the planet over here and press F on the keyboard to go to it. Now, you can see that there's nothing visible there. And that's because there's no directional light. You can see even the sky atmosphere doesn't even know where the light is coming from. It's just assuming from the top. So what we're going to do is going to press this button over here, Window, and then go to Environment Light Mixer. In here, we have some options, but the important ones, we want to create a skylight and an atmospheric light. And already this is now pretty much added a directional light in the scene, which is over there. And we have the sky atmosphere that is enabled, and we have everything really that we need to get going. Now, we want to make sure that our intensity of the light is not too harsh, so maybe a number 3. We don't have a post-process volume, so we might want to add that for more cinematic sort of effect. But more importantly, let's just click our sort of like our blueprint and have a look in here, because there's some things that are just not set up. So the first thing, for example, we need to set up the texture. We'll put the earth texture. We also want to put in a normal map like that. Now we can have a look at planet color blend intensity. So we put that to 1. That gives us the color. Now some of these I will have the default numbers done so that they already add all this stuff by default when you drop the scene into the scene. But it's really, I'm just showcasing the setup. We're now enabled the city lights so we can see that. We can then add the planet city lights. It's already loading a default texture for this, but you can actually search for whichever you want in order to add more to it. I definitely would recommend that you add the specular onto this, because this project does come with a specular map in there as well. And then you can also look for the roughness. There is no roughness map, but you can still use the specular one, so to speak. It's not great, but that's an option as well. Now we can then enable volumetric clouds if we would like and play around with these settings, something like that, or enable the high detail version of them. Now, when you enable the high detail version, just bear in mind that they won't, you'll have to probably wait for the shaders to sort of like kick in and stuff like that. Generally, they might not show up properly, so you can see how they're like disappearing when I do that. And then once we enable the cinematic quality, just make sure that you actually play around with the bottom altitude by quite a little bit, because I think it just needs quite a hefty amount. So I think anything after the number value of 7 or 8, it will start bringing those clouds in. Maybe something like that, and you can see them in there. Again, performance does take a dip because of how expensive this is, and you can increase the atmosphere. Now, I would definitely recommend that if you increase this atmosphere to this level, you do actually want to just disable the static clouds, because they just look wrong in there. Now, we do need to add the post-process volume. I definitely recommend that. So go to cinematics over here. Sorry, go to these visual effects, and then drop in a post-process volume. Make sure that you switch over to an infinite extent. So you have this option over in here like that. And then once you do it, you can actually change things like the bloom itself could be set from standard to convolution. And you'll notice, we don't have a directional light there. We can't see that particular the rays from there, but we'll be able to sort that. So we'll switch over from convolution, and already you can see it. And if we look over to the planet, we can actually increase things like the bloom if we would like to get some bit of bloom in there or not. It really is up to you. But what I like the most about this, and particularly in scene and space, is that you can enable the vignette intensity and put that to maybe like a 1.3, which just adds so much more flavor to this. With the blueprint selected over here, I can just go over down to my skybox. And then I want to maybe, for example, add in the Milky Way texture, which just will enhance the scene. Now, we can't see the Milky Way because our brightness might be too much. So we might be able to do a 0.7 and then have a look, and you can see it. You can see the Milky Way in sort of like that direction. This specular is really powerful, so we're going to have to toy with the settings of that. Now, bear in mind that the volumetric clouds do have a render distance. You can't really get around that, unfortunately. It will always, this is like encoded. You have to edit the C++ version of the engine in order to bypass this. But this is pretty much hard-coded to be about this sort of size. But this scene is huge. Like, I'm not joking. Like, this scene is massive right now. Okay. But yeah, that's how you set it up very, very quickly. But I hope you guys enjoy the video. I definitely enjoy putting this together. It took me a while. I really wanted to make it worth it. I really wanted to make all these systems work together. I think you have as I said, a solution for creating a space scene. I think you're going to be able to use it in every project that you have in space in general. I think it's really good for rendering cinematics or rendering things like for games and so on. So yeah, feel free. I think the custom gravity in 5.4 is also worth it. I would like to also extend my thank you to my patrons, which are supporting me every month, the people on Discord, which have helped me to develop the project, the people that I am talking to on a day-to-day basis. And again, finally, I want to thank you, the YouTube community, for keeping this channel alive.